we've talked about before, like to doing the work by actually experiencing like what the stressful thought is and what caused it in a way. But what are your tools, or like what is the best way to approach that when it seems to be harder to actually experience it? It's like you know what it is, you know when it happened, but I don't know if it's like the mind not letting you like fully experience it, or you just can be able to or seem to be able to just land in there and experience that like where you actually lived.
hmm Do you have an example of that that might help make it even more clear?
Yeah, I sometimes like have a stressful thought about my past,
hmm
and then it's easy for me to go there and like experience that and see what's going on and like really be there. But for other things that are not, I don't know if maybe they're like they had less impact in my life, maybe that's a cause. I don't know if that's the cause or not, but for some other things that seem to be simpler or like not that deep, then it's a lot harder for me to be there and experience it and like get all the
Mm.
details that I usually get with other situations.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, that does make sense. So the reason you can access the details from some experiences from the past is because they made a big impression. You made a deep impression on you. And so you remember, what do they say? You remember where you were when somebody died, or you know exactly where you were, what was happening when somebody said something or did something. So those strong moments, those are the ones that the mind remembers the details about the most. But if you ask me what I had for breakfast this morning, I can probably tell you, but I don't, it's not like it's not as deep an impression. Or what did I talk about on Saturday with my partner in the car? Okay, maybe I just don't remember because it wasn't stressful. It didn't really land. I could probably figure it out. I could probably get there, but not all the details are going to be there. So I think that's one thing is that when the mind gets has the stress experience like it really got stressed, that's when it tends to remember some of those details, especially from the distant past. One way to deal with that is if it's like you don't have to work everything from the past. So, there might have been things in my conversation on Saturday with my partner that I could have worked. Maybe, right? I can question so many things, but I don't remember them well enough to do it justice. It's sort of so vague or so not making a much impression that I'm not going to spend my time trying to dig it up and try to work it. But I do remember when I was 15 and my mom asked me about, she was thinking about getting a divorce with my dad, like that I remember. And so I've done worksheets on that in detail, and that works well. For me, the smaller stuff I tend to work in the present, more things that just happened today or things that are so fresh that I can remember the details, even though they weren't huge. They were kind of minor stressful things, but they happened recently that I can remember more of the details, and that works also. But the more stressful it is, the more I tend to remember the details. So that's a good thing. If you want to work on stressful thoughts, probably you're going to remember some of those details. And the other thing is, you don't have to always remember every detail to do the work. There are many times when, for example, that situation with my mom telling me about divorce, I remember where I was. So we were in the yard, we were outside, it was springtime. Uh, but I don't remember the exact words she said. I remember the idea of what she said, but I had to like create that version of what it was again, sort of like my own version of it. And it may not be accurate. If we had a video camera there, it would say you're actually got it wrong. But that's okay too. I don't have to get all the details perfect, to be able to do the work. It's the feeling that I had. Like you said, you started with the idea of experience. So I experienced it as stressful, and it was like I felt like I had to say yes, or had to say it was okay. I wasn't free to really think about what my answer would be to her question. And there were a lot of things there that I remembered. There was like a feeling or an experience, and then I could build the details out from there, even if they're not 100%. So, I mean, those are a few thoughts there, but what do you mean by like what were you trying to do when you're looking for past experiences that had less of an impact, but you still wanted to work or something like that? Tell me more about that kind of experience that you're looking for.
I think it's about the feeling itself. Like some pieces of work, I can really be there and almost get lost in like what exactly happened, and I can see, like I said, like all the details of the things, and I can pay attention to everything that was going on. So that sense of going back to the past with the camera myself and like being there and like seeing it, I think that's kind of what like my experience, or like my idea of experience, is like the greatest. So I'm trying to find out if it's like I'm doing it wrong for the simple things, or this, what you mentioned, makes a lot of sense because it's not that impactful in my life. So it's just like I don't see everything that happened around it.
Yeah.
So
So you might not have to do as much work on those. It'll just be a short thing or a one liner or something smaller. Like you may not do the work at all on some of those simple things if it didn't have enough of an impression that you can hold it. You know, you don't have, if you don't have the feeling, it's really hard to do the work. The feeling, the work is an experience. That's what we keep saying here, is that so you have to have some recollection of the experience of stress to be able to do the work. Maybe that's not absolutely true, because you could do the work even on something that's not stressful. But generally, I'm working on stressful thoughts. And so if it's not stressful, or if I don't remember feeling stressed, then it becomes harder to do the work on an experiential basis. It becomes more intellectual that way. You're starting to, you know, starting to think about it more than feel it. So, yeah, that's why I always say trust your stress. Your stress will tell you what to work on next. Because what is the stress doing is giving you a feeling, and you can follow that feeling to the situation and then do the work on that because you're feeling it. Then you're connected to it. If I'm not feeling anything, my temptation is not to do the work on it because it's not connected to me on a very experiential level, and it becomes more of an intellectual exercise rather than a feeling exercise. The power of the work for me is the feeling, the experiential thing, because the thought is connected to a feeling. And so when I'm working the thought and turning it around, I'm actually working the emotion and turning it around. They're two connected at the same time. But if I just have the thought and somehow it's not connected to the feeling, I can do all my turnarounds and everything, but what's it doing down here? Like it's not connected. So, um, yeah, yeah. Feeling will show you where to go. And maybe this is the thought, like maybe you want to question everything, or you maybe want to question all your thoughts from the past, but when you really look at them, they're some of them are just not that strong. So maybe you don't have to work them. Yeah, maybe that's it. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know if that helps at all.
yeah, that really helps. Thank you. That's pretty
Okay.
cool.
Cool. Sometimes I get the idea that I have to do the work on everything in order to get free, right? You know, like I have my whole childhood and there's so many things that happened. I better work all of those in order to be free.
Yeah.
But you can work one thought instead. I need to work all of those to be be free. Is it true? And then you can leave yourself with the freedom to just work the ones that you feel called to work. That's listening to your heart again, listening to your experience and letting your stress point you where to go next. Yeah. The thing with the world of stressful thoughts is there's an infinite number of them. Stressful situations, so many. You can't work them all anyway, and you don't need to. So just following that guidance from inside, from your emotions, that will lead you to the next one to question. And then after that one, there will be a next one. And all you need is just keep following that, and you'll always be working on something interesting and something that where you do feel it, and you will have the experience of this meditation, and then it can touch you in a real way.
Cool. Thank you.